Well, Tennessee a 40-13 winner over LSU down on the Bayou. It was breakfast, lunch, and they're probably having a nice little post-game dinner on the way back to Knoxville. 40-13, Tennessee over LSU. 13 points gifted the Volunteers' way, pretty much in the first quarter. Scored 10 in the second, 14 in the third, and then 3 more in the fourth quarter. It was a total team efforts, all 3 phases contributing. And Tennessee is now 5-0 for the first time since 2016. A monster showdown coming up next weekend in Knoxville. Number 1 Alabama, likely against the top 10 Tennessee team. But more on that later in the week. Austin Price. I am Eric Cain here at Volquest.com, your little post-game mini podcast. Man, this was a fun afternoon. Tennessee came down, handled business against a talented LSU team. But, I mean, Tennessee, there was no doubt about it on really every single phase of the football game. Tennessee was the more superior team. Tennessee just beat them up a little bit today.
Yeah, they dominated from the get-go, from the muffed kickoff, and Tennessee ran for 263 yards. Kudos to 2 coaches that most people aren't giving enough credit to. I'm going to go Glenn Ellerby. He had to have a makeshift offensive line. Mincy not here. He's got to play J.J. Crawford and Dane Davis. Those guys, protected Hendon Hooker.
Dane Davis as well, more of a right tackle.
Yeah, he's played a lot of right tackle. But they ran for 263 today. 263. LSU, on the flip side, let's give Rodney Garner a lot of credit. Coming into the season, all the people talking about, I'm not sure about that. I was one of them. What Tennessee has in the interior defensive line. And I don't think Tennessee knew, but he's getting exceptional play from Bryson Easton and DJ Terry and Omari Thomas and the entire defensive line. LSU only runs for 55 yards. Jade Daniels throws for 300, but a lot of it was in kind of, soft coverage, there in the third, fourth quarter when Tennessee's, letting them have stuff. I mean, Tennessee got home a bunch today. Kudos to the Leos. But you're right. I said this in the 2-minute drill. I think it bears repeating. I think everybody that covers this team, I think a lot of us have been like, we'll see. I think it's time we start treating them like the top 10 team they are. It ain't like they skated by today. They dominated LSU on the road. They poured it on. Hit 40 points. And honestly, again, the last quarter they're just running the football, trying to get it to the triple zeros. I thought they did a better job of doing it than they did against Florida at home. They had that 8-minute drive there in the fourth quarter that took a big chunk of the fourth quarter clock away, and again, nice defensive play there at the end to not allow LSU to get a cheap touchdown. Was basically time expired. Hey, Tennessee plays Alabama next week, a top-ranked Tide team, that will be undefeated because they'll beat A&M later tonight unless just all hell breaks loose. A team that, that Tennessee's not beaten since 2006, and guess what? It'll be the first time since 1989 that both teams will face each other undefeated. So, it's been a long time, but it's set up to be, again, the center of the college football world next week will be Knoxville, Tennessee. Who would have thought that 18 months ago? It really is mind-boggling to see how this program has kind of picked itself up, dusted itself off, and then decided to go get it in a Jaguar and drive around town. Like this ain't, they're not hitchhiking anywhere. Like they're riding around in style, and I mean it's just impressive to see a bunch of kids that have bought in, that are just having fun playing with each other, man. I mean, again, everybody just kind of steps up. No Cedric Tillman, the other guys step up. No Gerald Mincy, the other guys step up. Defense isn't any good. Secondary's terrible. They stepped up today. Kudos. Again, if you're a Tennessee fan, you just take it in week by week. It's been a long 15 years. You take it in week by week and enjoy the moment. And there were a lot of them here today that enjoyed that moment.
Shoot, man, you had a lot to say. There was about 3.5 minutes, a little monologue there. Obviously,
I filibustered.
Filibustered a little bit, but on one of your points there, I was, the last time Tennessee and Alabama played undefeated in 1989, 4 years later is when I was born. So I mean,
I was 6.
It's been quite a few minutes. I mean, it's been a long time. So it's pretty miraculous to even think about. That drive you were referencing too. I mean, a Josh Heupel-led Tennessee offense going 13 plays, 81 yards, taking off 8 minutes and 47 seconds off the clock, and still getting points. Didn't get a touchdown, but you got points, and so that was That was just massive. Yeah, I mean, just a beat down, an absolute beat down. Tennessee wasn't scared of the stage, and it was 11 a.m. local time, and it was still a really, really good environment. The place got really, really loud there whenever LSU scored a touchdown, and then we're trying to get back into it before halftime. It got pretty loud here, but Tennessee weathered that storm, did a great job. I mean, Hendon Hooker did Hendon Hooker things. I thought he looked pretty good. He took a real big pop there in the second quarter and missed on 2 throws really badly down the field consecutively whenever Tennessee was trying to score before the half. Now, you still got a field goal, so it was all right. But again, Tennessee's best player, 17 of 27, 239, 2 touchdowns. He runs for 56 yards. Didn't have to be Superman today, which is good because you had Jalen Hyatt, you had Brew McCoy, and you had Jabari Small that all stepped up.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they all stepped up in a big, big way, and they continue to do so. I'm a Princeton fan who has had the case of the drops at times this year.
Yeah.
And had the fumble against Florida a couple weeks ago. He had a couple of really nice plays today, whether it be blocking or catching a third down conversion. Everybody just kind of found their footing today, and they played a lot more guys at the back end. You've referenced that. They just played a lot of guys, period. Again, kudos to the staff, man. I didn't think for 1 minute they'd throw D. Williams back there on the road, and they didn't hesitate. First punt, boom, 58 yards.
Yeah.
That set the tone early. You talk about embracing the stage. That all comes from the head coach. He embraces that. He talked about that, just how he feels like his experience as a player on those big stages when he was at Oklahoma allows him to push for those things with the current team, with his teams. Like, there's no blocking it out. Like, you can't go into a bubble. Like, everybody's going to be in your ear. Your uncle's going to be in your ear. Your mom and dad are going to be in your ear. Your friends are going to be in your ear. Your girlfriend's going to be in your ear.
Oh.
All talking about the scene, the stage, the moment. Let's just embrace it and roll with it.
Yeah, and that's what they've done. They did that against Florida 2 weeks ago. They obviously did that against LSU here today. Brew McCoy again had another long. He's gotten loose a couple times this year. Another 70-yard scamper there, and he and Jalen Hyatt just continue to step up without Cedric Tillman. It's really impressive too when you think about you're doing all this, and one of the best wide receivers in the entire SEC and the entire country has not been there. And I just kudos to Jalen Hyatt and Brew McCoy and Hendon Hooker for making it work. So that's looked really, really good. You want to flip the script over and look at that defense. You referenced it a time or two, but I'm going to second it, man. I thought the Leos were just really good today. I thought Joshua Joseph flashed, obviously, with a big-time sack. I thought Byron Young had his best game of the season, which is good. And I'll learn more when I go back and watch the tape some tonight and tomorrow. But I thought those guys played really well. The interior with the Amari Thomases, the Bryson Easons, the Karat Garlands, I thought played really well. And then, the linebackers. I thought Jeremy Banks played pretty well today. I'll have to go back again and watch. I hate to sound like a coach when I continue to say that. But Aaron Beasley had a big-time pop on fourth down early in that first half. Juwan Mitchell got his hands on a pass. I just thought from the defensively as a whole, but also from the front seven, I just saw some improved football play from the linebackers in the Leo spot.
Yeah, they did. I mean, again, having one, they hung with Roman Harrison. He struggled early in the year, was not handling his business like he should. They hung with him. He's continued to come on, and really is playing good football. Had a great game today. Byron Young's kind of been close a bunch, but he hadn't been able to get home. Got home a lot more today. And then again, playing Josh Josephs more, playing those freshmen. I think you saw Elijah Herring in there on those third down plays when they're in the 4-3 package. Again, that helped. I think he's tailor-made to kind of slide inside and be a force. Jeremy Banks played well today.
You joked during the game, even when he had that face mask on.
I mean,
he actually leaned down and said, "Hey, my bad, man."
Yeah, well, dude, he went over to Jalen, to Jaden Daniels, and dapped him up and said he was sorry. I mean, he was,
It was just funny.
Yeah, it was. But again, this is a Tennessee, program that's 5-0 for the first time since 2016. Complimentary football across the board today. Special teams was outstanding. The kickoffs, the punts, the punt returns. Kick return probably the only thing they didn't do super well. And they only had a couple of real opportunities.
Yeah, something we're not even mentioning here, Austin. Tennessee down to punt inside the 5. I mean, that's big time. That is big time when you talk about flipping field. And something that, again, that unit struggled. And again, tip of the cap there to Chase McGrath. He was really good today. And even the 50-yarder that banged off the upright, I mean, we were sitting kind of right there. I mean, it would have made for I mean, it was easily long enough. It just kind of banged the upright, but he was good from 35, 38, 32, and 32. Yeah, he might not have the most consistent leg 45 and beyond, but he is as consistent as they come 40 in. And that says something, especially in a game like this. So, again, I continue to reiterate it, but all three phases of the game won today. Tennessee, typically, any football team typically can win when 2 of the 3 work. Sometimes you need all 3 to work. Tennessee didn't need all 3, but they got all 3 here today. And so, 5-0, one of the best teams in the SEC. And I agree with you, because I think I'm guilty as that too. Is not necessarily treating this team like it is a top 10
Well, because
team.
you're around it every day. You're around it every day. And so thus you see the warts, you know the warts, and so you take for granted. It's the same thing I always say, like, people that live in Sevierville take for granted Dollywood. People that live in Orlando take for granted Disney World. People that, are around something all the time become jaded or take for granted, what's in front of them. I've watched a lot of terrible football, a lot of terrible scenarios, a lot of heartbreak and angst and trepidation and all kinds of other adjectives that don't come out very rosy. The last 15 years, you got to embrace and roll with what you're seeing. Tennessee's 5-0. They're doing it at a high level. Now they have the top-ranked Tide coming to town. Huge, huge moment for Tennessee next week. No matter what happens, enjoy it. Tennessee wins next week, do what you will, right? If Tennessee doesn't win, hey, you're 5-1. You still have everything right in front of you because you play Kentucky in 2 weeks, the team you beat 37 in the last 40 years or whatever it is. If you win that one, then you're going to go to Athens, Georgia, playing for the East, playing for the right to go to Atlanta, Georgia in November.
Yeah.
Woo, watch out. So my point is, enjoy the next week, have fun, and no matter what happens, realize that the whole season's still right in front of you, whether you win or lose.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, like, even if, and we'll have all week long to talk about this, but even if you lose to an Alabama team, like, that doesn't mean you're not still a top 10 team in the nation. Like, I mean, Alabama's Alabama. Georgia has been Georgia the last couple of years. Like, even if you do lose, like, you can still be a top 10 team in the country. So Tennessee certainly is, and Tennessee is playing like it. Tennessee has a quarterback that is playing like it, and certainly a head coach that is coaching like a top 10 head coach in the entire country. Tennessee, monster win, 40-13, wasn't even close. They got off the bus, the opening kickoff, and from there it was all orange. A 40-13 win, Tennessee over LSU. We have got plenty of game day coverage still to come, recapping Tennessee's big-time win over LSU. We'll have a lot going on tomorrow on the site. Tons and tons of information to get to it. $1 for 1 year if you haven't signed up already. Don't miss any of the coverage. That's $1 for 1 year at Volquest.com. For Austin Price, I am Eric Cain. This is your post-game mini podcast. Tennessee, a winner over LSU 40-13.